Hello, my name is Dan Hennen. Today is May 17th, 2018, and I'll be going through the Crowley Case timeline. Today is being the 17th of May, it has been the 40th month since the bodies of the Crowley family were found in their Apple Valley, Minnesota home 40 months ago today. This timeline was recently published last month, but because of the size and the volume of this timeline and the small print on the PDF file, folks have recommended that we go over it in an audio broadcast for an audio file that you can listen to in the car during your commute, while working out, or whatever you're doing. Because this could be a lengthy discussion. The items on this timeline are noteworthy items. They may or may be related to the crime itself, or they may be just historical, putting things in a historical context. I'll start off at the top here. We'll go through every single row. There's over 420 rows to this timeline. Number 1, 1978. Anjum Alam graduates from Texas A&M University with a degree in software engineering. And this is relevant for the fact that he came over when he was 17 years old to the U.S. From Pakistan, and I believe that the same plans were part of the plans for Komel to do the same thing as they moved over here as well. So he had a degree from Texas A&M in 1978. After his degree, he moves back to Pakistan to be near family, meets a woman named Naila later on. They marry. They end up relocating to a United States military base in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, because of a great job offer that he was offered. Anjum had risen through the ranks and was doing very well in his career, got a job offer that he couldn't resist, so they moved there onto the base in Saudi Arabia. 1985, David Crowley is born in the month of July. 1986, Komel Alam is born on November 20th at a U.S. military base in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. 1998, the Alam family moves from Saudi Arabia to Pakistan to be closer to their family. 2003, David Crowley tells his parents that he and his friend Mitch Heil were joining the Army after high school. This was April or May of the year 2003. They're just finishing up their junior year of high school. In 2004, on June 23rd, David Crowley begins basic training in Fort Benning, Georgia. Later that year, after basic training, we think he was possibly attached to the 1st Battalion, 6th Infantry Regiment in Baumholder, Germany. They were called the Regulars. 2005, the Alam family moves from Pakistan to the United States, to a town called Richardson. 2005 also is the year that Dan Crowley Sr. and Kate Crowley divorce. In 2006, David gets deployed to Iraq. 2007, the Alam family move into their home in Hewitt, Texas on July 5th. Same year, David Crowley is transferred to Fort Hood, Texas. In 2008, David Crowley meets Komel Alam at a bar in Waco, Texas. Weeks later, David and Komel get married in Waco, Texas on May 22nd. Komel gets pregnant. This date range we believe to be between October 22nd of that year and November 5th is when she conceived little Rani. 2008, Komel Crowley receives the Rising Young Professional Award from Baylor University in Texas. In June, David Crowley is discharged from the U.S. Army. He serves the United States for a total of 39.5 months on foreign soil. Komel Crowley purchases a Springfield XD .40 caliber handgun from the Gun Zone in Dallas on July 25th. Rani is born on August 6th. David, Komel, and the newborn Rani moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Anjum Alam creates an AT&T cell phone account for David Crowley on September 18th. On November 8th, Komel Crowley and David Crowley both complete their permit to carry class. Now I move to the year 2010. The company Hot Head Productions LLC is created on January 7th. David Crowley meets Danny August Mason. On April 13th, David Crowley files a form with the ATF acknowledging he is building a customized short rifle AR-15 to be used as a movie prop. This form is later approved by the ATF on April 21st, 2010. David Crowley begins writing a script for a project later known as the Gray State. On May 1st, Officer Joe Bergeron is shot and killed in the line of duty in Minnesota. He is David's uncle and Kate Crowley's brother. At the time, it was the largest funeral procession in state history. On September 17th, David Crowley transfers ownership of his AR-15 rifle to Adam Shambor in the form of a gift. This isn't necessarily the AR-15 that he turned into a short rifle mentioned previously. This just says it was a regular AR-15. In 2011, the Alam family sell their home in Hewitt, Texas on May 17th. That summer, David Crowley, Danny Mason, and Mitch Heil filmed scenes for the Gray State trailer, a 2-minute, 40-second video. David Crowley transfers ownership of his Beretta handgun as a gift to Danny August Mason on August 10th. Now we move to 2012. The Gray State concept trailer for the fictional film The Gray State is published on YouTube on August 7th, 2012. To date, there's been over 2.5 million views. Komel receives her master's degree in public health nutrition from the University of Minnesota on October 31st, 2012. The Alam family arrived from Texas to celebrate. This includes Anjum, the mother Nyla, and the sister Sidra. David Crowley sells a Springfield XD .40 caliber handgun to David Stark on June 17th. This is the same weapon Komel purchased in 2009. Now we move to 2013. In Colorado, writing professional Linda Seeger reviews the script for The Gray State in the month of June. The Crowley family moves into their home on Ramsdale Drive in Apple Valley, Minnesota in the month of December. Those are the background items of note in previous years leading up to the year 2014. Now we're going to go to actual dates. March 16th, 2014, David Crowley's sister Allison gets engaged. April 16th, 2014. According to the New Yorker article called Death of a Dystopian, written by Alec Wilkinson, David Crowley begins a journal. The exact date isn't known. He just refers to the month of April. Wednesday, May 21st of the year 2014, David, Komel, and Rani arrive in Texas to visit the Alam family. They drove from Minnesota in a black Toyota Corolla. David posts on Facebook that he will be meeting some extremely important people in LA this week. This individual post alone receives 440 likes on Facebook. Thursday, May 22nd, David and Komel fly to Los Angeles, California to celebrate their 6-year anniversary in Hollywood. David then meets with a Hollywood producer to discuss his movie script. On Friday, May 23rd, 2014, David tweets that he has agreed to his first movie deal. This is presumably with a company called Michael Entertainment Group, or MEG. David posts on Facebook that the movie will be optioned in the next 2 weeks. They'll get a major budget and will be connected with A-list talent. This particular post receives 1,300 likes on his Facebook page. David and Komel celebrate their anniversary in Venice Beach. Saturday, May 24th, 2014, David and Komel fly from LA to Dallas to visit with the Alam family and reunite with Rani. Sunday, May 25th, 2014, Komel attends a Muslim mosque and prays with the family. Source of this, Sidra's friend, Natasha. Monday, May 26th, the Crowley family begins their drive back to Minneapolis in Anjum Alam's car, an Acura that he bought for Komel. So they drove the Toyota Corolla down to Texas, drove the Acura back. Friday, June 13th, 2014. Komel Crowley files paperwork to cash in her 401k retirement plan. Monday, June 23rd, 2014. David completes his basement project, a new home theater. David posts on Facebook, this upcoming weekend will be round 2 of the option contract negotiations on the movie deal. Thursday, June 26th. David Crowley and Mitch Heil dissolved their business called the Bullet Exchange. They part their ways from a business perspective. Saturday, June 28th. David departs Minneapolis on a flight to Los Angeles, California. Has dinner in West Hollywood. David posts on Facebook that he'll be meeting with the producers in a few minutes. Then David has a meeting to discuss options and complete negotiations for the Gray State movie. Tuesday, July 1st, David reviews the movie option contract with his lawyer during the week. This is presumably Adam Gislason from the Minneapolis law firm Lohman Abdo. July 19th. This is a Saturday. David and Komel find out that Naila Alam has cancer. Monday, July 21st. David and Komel oppose Naila's decision to use chemotherapy to treat her cancer. The evidence of this is many phone calls on this day, according to the records. According to phone records. They wanted to have her to use a more natural option to treat the cancer versus chemotherapy. Tuesday, July 29th, the Eid Muslim holiday. Communication with the Alam family are fine. Friday, August 1st, Komel Crowley receives her final payout from her 401k plan of $1,625.30. August 4th, David Crowley writes a check to Cypress Montessori for $595 to enroll Rani in school for the upcoming year. In the memo field it says initial payment. Wednesday, August 6th, Rani's birthday. She turns 5 years old. Sunday, August 10th, Rani's birthday party at the Crowley home. Happy times, lots of people invited. Video footage shown in the documentary A Gray State. Some actual footage that was taken that day at the birthday party was shown in the documentary. Saturday, August 16th, David and Komel stopped talking and responding to the Alam family. They didn't answer calls, didn't respond to text messages. So we know they did not agree with the method there for treating the cancer, but for some reason during all this they stopped communicating altogether. Saturday, August 23rd, David Crowley's 10-year high school class reunion at Owatonna High School. One of David's friends compliments Komel about her looks, and David gets jealous. The evening is uncomfortable. Komel begins a journal that night. Monday, August 25th, Komel's last post on Pinterest. The final week of August, date unknown. Dan Crowley Jr. does something that breaks up his relationship with his brother David. He wishes to apologize and, quote, make things right later on. This is still an unknown. Whatever happened, it's pretty significant to this entire case. Friday, September 5th, at 9:46 a.m., Komel Crowley leaves a complimentary comment regarding comedian Tom Naughton's movie Fathead website. She tells him how the movie has changed her life and helped reverse her rheumatoid arthritis, helped her lose 25 pounds, and even helped with her daughter's autism. That's the comment that she left on the website. September 5th was also the same day David has a garage sale for his bullet exchange equipment after the business dissolved between him and Mitch Heil. First week of September, Mr. Alam kept asking Sidra Alam, this is Komel's sister, every day if he's heard anything back from Komel. The Alam family begins reaching out to the Crowleys via phone calls, texts, and even sending pictures of Nyla, who was the ill mother at the time, to try to engage the family. So at this point, the Alams are now reaching out to the Crowley family. Oh, and this does not mean the extended family. I think this just relates to the immediate David and Komel. Texts, voicemails, emails. Monday, September 15th, David sends the updated movie script to the LA producers. Wednesday, the 17th of September, Michael Entertainment Group receives the new draft of the script in the mail, of the script. David includes a movie poster as well. It is one of the Mike's birthdays. David planned on mailing it, so arrived on his birthday. One of the Mikes, Michael Boggio or Michael O'Donnell. Not sure which one, but one of them. Wednesday, September 24th. Mitch Heil stops by the Crowley house. David Crowley does not let him in. September 26th. Komel's last Instagram post. Same day, David hears back from the LA producers. They think the script would work better as a TV series. September 30th, 9:35 a.m. David posts on Facebook that he's looking to, quote, reinvigorate the film process by building a new trustworthy team. This post gets deleted late January 2015 by an unknown person. Also on September 30th, David posts on Facebook the possibility of a Gray State movie, documentary, and a series. Later that evening, David answers questions with fans online. Wednesday, October 1st. Komel texts her sister Sidra, "Happy birthday." It marks the first time Sidra has heard from Komel since August. October 1st also. David Crowley begins the legal process to remove Danny August Mason from the project. David's attorney sends paperwork detailing this to Mr. Mason. Mr. Mason never responds. Later on October 1st, the same day, is David Crowley's last Instagram post. Sunday, October 5th, the Eid Muslim holiday. No communication at all from the Crowleys to the Alam family in Texas. Sunday, October 12th, David allegedly calls Mr. Alam on the phone and cusses him out. Per Sidra, her father was, quote, upset. He cried. October 15th, plans are made with the Alam family to retrieve the Acura car that Mr. Alam loaned to the Crowleys and exchange it with an older Toyota Corolla. Thursday, October 16th, Sidra Alam begins the 17-hour drive from Texas to Minnesota in her black Corolla. She drives with her then fiancé, Vinny. Her father pays for meals and fuel. She texts Komel to say she's on her way. This is according to the New Yorker article by Alec Wilkinson. Other sources say that she left on the 17th of October. Saturday, October 18th. A person named Daniel J. Crowley withdraws $50,000 in cash at a branch bank location from a POD bank account. The person's signature shows Daniel T. Crowley. There is nothing to support what this money was used for. A POD account is a payable upon death account. Dan Sr. owns this account and lists his 3 children as beneficiaries to pay up upon his death. So Dan Sr. should be the only one having access to this account. The beneficiaries are the children Dan Jr., David, and Allison. Once Dan Sr. dies, those 3 will have access to this bank account. This was the account bank transaction that shows a $50,000 withdrawal, a cash withdrawal at the teller. This is strange because nothing goes to show what this was used for. A few days later, on October 30th, there is a $50,000 transfer from another checking account back into this account, and people have looked at that and said, and have assumed that this $50,000 was taken out and then just replenished back in a few days later. But remember, that bank statement shows it's a transfer from a checking account. There's no deposit anywhere in that time frame of $50,000 coming back in. So $50,000 was withdrawn, taken out in the form of cash, and there's nothing to support what that was for. Same day now, around noon, Sidra and Vinny arrive in Bloomington, Minnesota after driving through the night. They stop at a mall parking lot and call and text Komel to announce their arrival. No response. They kill some time shopping. Then Sidra drives 10 minutes south to Apple Valley, and after getting no response from Komel, decides to pull into the police department to ask for advice. Sidra figured that if she shows up at the home, David might call police to announce a trespasser on the property. She wanted to avoid that scenario. She requested a dispatcher to attempt to call Komel directly to see if she would answer. No one answered the call from the Apple Valley Police Department. The officer says there's nothing more that we can do at this point. Sidra and Vinny arrive at the Crowley home at 7 p.m. only to be turned away at the door by David. He doesn't allow Sidra to see neither Komel nor Rani, and is, quote, rude. Sidra tells David that she loves David, Komel, and her niece, and she doesn't know what she did to deserve this. If there was something, she offered to apologize and fix it. She went on to say, "If you want nothing to do with me or my dad, that's fine. But don't abandon my mother who only calls for Komel and her granddaughter." Vinny then talks to David and makes some headway about switching cars, as at first David wasn't interested in doing that either. David agrees to let them drive the Acura back to Texas, but says, "Come back in 1 hour as I have to clean it up." Sidra and Vinny agree and head to a nearby convenience store to wait for an hour and gather their thoughts. By now it's 8:30 p.m. They exchange cars, and Sidra and Vinny drive off in the Acura back to Texas. Sidra feels something is not right about the vehicle and thinks David may have tampered with it. Sidra and Vinny pull over to a nearby parking lot, and they call police again to request a canine unit, this time to sniff around the car. At this point, they're still in the Apple Valley city limits. Apple Valley police receive the call from dispatch and deny sending out a squad on the basis that we can't just take your word for it. Sidra now calls her father Anjum while crying, and he suggests that they spend the night at a local hotel, get some rest, and leave in the morning. While driving to the hotel, Sidra allegedly finds a photograph that Komel placed in the car. It was a photo of Nyla, Sidra, and Komel together in happier times. On the back is a handwritten note by Komel that reads, "I always have and always will love you and Mom." Sidra and Vinny arrive at the Motel 6 in Albert Lea, Minnesota after driving 80 miles. Sunday, October 19th. Sidra and Vinny check out of the motel and begin their long drive back to Texas. October 21st. David Crowley sets up a new AT&T cell phone account. Friday, October 24th. Final cell phone activity at 12:20 a.m. for phone number 254-616-0461. Same day, October 24th. Dan Crowley Jr. posts a comment on his Facebook wall about how easy it is to watch gruesome deaths on television. This post was later removed. Same day, Komel posts her final entry on her business Facebook page. Komel also tweets for the final time. David Crowley's last post on his personal Facebook page is on this day, October 24th. Monday, October 27th, David contacts David Kirk West on Facebook and asks if he would like to produce the web series scenes that will be filmed in the Pacific Northwest. Tuesday, October 28th, State of Minnesota issues the automobile title certificate for a 2005 Toyota Corolla in the name of Komel Crowley. Same day, Mr. Alam shuts down the AT&T cell phone and data plan for David Crowley. Wednesday, October 29, David Crowley updates the cover photo on his personal Facebook page. Same day, October 29th, Komel Crowley's last phone call on her AT&T line. It was to her mother, Nyla. Later that same day, David Crowley's last tweet. Thursday, October 30. The New Yorker article alleges that Komel Crowley was hallucinating and David comforted her. This is confirmed by the video footage shown on the documentary called A Gray State. Tuesday, November 4th. A user by the name of Silver Lodge asks about the status of the Gray State film on an internet forum website. It was responded to by a user named Arkaden. At 1:33 p.m., Arkaden responds that the team had to give up some creative ownership, but the project was greenlit and moving forward. Friday, November 7. Dan Crowley Sr. texts David to see if he was, quote, still alive. This was after Dan Sr. found out from Dan Jr. that David had a new phone number. The next day, David responds back with, everything is great. Family life has swept us away. Dan Crowley Sr. responds back to David with, how are the negotiations going with the producers? Sunday, November 9. David Crowley responds back with, I walked from it. Reasons of the spirit, I guess. It is unknown at this time why David lied to his father. Later, David Crowley changes his Facebook profile picture. It's an image of those clouds that were there to this day. November 9th is also the Naila Alam's birthday. And an item to note here is that there was no communication at all from Komel. So they stopped communicating even during the Eid Muslim holiday and her mother's birthday. Tuesday, November 18th, David announces on Facebook that the documentary called The Rise will be available for free once it is completed. This post receives 1,074 likes. Thursday, November 20th, Allison Crowley sends a nasty email to David with some hurtful things included. This is also Komel Crowley's 28th birthday. Sidra also texted Komel happy birthday, and Sidra later saw that Komel read it, but there was no response back. Sunday, November 23rd. According to the New Yorker article Death of a Dystopian written by Alec Wilkinson, David Crowley makes his final post in the journal. Exact date is unknown, but we do know that Alec Wilkinson says that it was 7 months after his first post, and we know the first post was in April. The last journal entry reads, I am no one, it is everyone else who is someone. So we know that it's the end of November when this last post in the journal is made. It reads, I am no one, it is everyone else who is someone. This will come up later. Monday, November 24th, Komel meets a friend at 11 a.m. for coffee. She pays for some products she bought, and they make plans to get together again after the holidays. Wednesday, November 26th, on the Gray State Movie Facebook page, David Crowley leaves his last comment at 7:42 p.m. Next day is Thanksgiving Day, November 27th. Now we're into the final week of November. Sunday, November 30th, Komel Crowley's dietitian license is voluntarily terminated. And this was allegedly because she was about to write her first book. She's working on authoring a book. So it shows that it was voluntarily terminated. Tuesday, December 2nd, David Crowley's last phone conversation with his friend Mason Hendricks. Sunday, December 7th, David Crowley emails a follow-up message to Danny August Mason regarding the legal paperwork needed for David Crowley's attorney. Mr. Mason replies back with, I need my attorney to review this. Keep in mind he received this back on October 1st. Tuesday, December 9, David Crowley makes the following post on the Gray State The Rise Facebook page. The rise is almost done. I'm serious. She's coming out to be quite the looker. Can't wait to show you all. On a response after that post at 5:58 p.m., Sean Wright reminds David on the Facebook post to remember to remove my tax stuff in the documentary before releasing it to the public. And then he goes further and leaves his cell phone number to reach him to call him back. Sunday, December 14th, 8:48 a.m., Komel Crowley responds to a text regarding an opportunity to help with the Gray State Project. She says, "Welcome. Always glad to have new supporters." Monday, December 15th, the Minneapolis Star-Tribune publishes an article called "Police Departments Join Forces to Bring Tech Analysis In-House." This is regarding the brand new Dakota County Electronic Crimes Task Force that was formed. This will later be used a month later in the Crowley case, this very same task force. December 16th or 17th, David Crowley last talks to a friend via the phone. We don't know who the person was, but it was the 16th or the 17th. Wednesday, December 17th, David Crowley reaches out to producer Jason Allen, asking if he'd like to be the executive producer and help out with the logistics of the film. December 19th, Friday, 7:22 a.m. David Crowley texts Christopher Peck, "Do you have any?" This is referring to the marijuana he wanted to pick up. Around 1 p.m. that same afternoon, David and Komel arrive in Minneapolis to visit and pick up some marijuana from Chris Peck. At 3 p.m. the same day, David and Komel arrive at Rani's preschool to pick her up. This is the last day of school before the Christmas break. Saturday, December 20th. At roughly 2 a.m., Colin Prochnow hears possible sounds of gunshots coming from the Crowley home. He does not call police. Note, the date Colin gave to police was 12/19. The shooting that he hears was the evening of the 19th, but because it was 2 a.m. was actually the 20th of December. Same day, December 20th, Colin and Judy's Prochnow's adult son named Eric arrives to spend time with the family. He's from California. Sunday, December 21st, Komel sends her last known tweet to Heidi Lish at 8:13 a.m. And this might have meant text, not tweet. Same day, December 21st, David Crowley charges $31.32 at the Apple Valley Smashburger location. This is the last banking transaction that's known of the family. Tuesday, December 23rd, Sidra Alam, the sister, missed a phone call from Komel Crowley at 9:36 a.m. Sidra Alam also missed a phone call from Komel Crowley at 11:40 the same day. The December 26th issue of the Sun This Week newspaper gets delivered to the Crowley home between 2 and 3 p.m. according to the paper boy. This was the issue found in the paper trash can. The December 26th issue was delivered, probably brought in the house on the 23rd of December. Wednesday, December 24th, Sean Wright posts a photo on his Twitter page. It shows a Christmas tree and gifts. Oddly enough, it's the only tweet on his account. Christmas Eve, neighbor Brett Millay sees a figure in the window across the street at the Crowley home. He assumes it is David. This is not yet confirmed. Same night, a music playlist of 53 songs begins playing continuously in a loop on David's MacBook Pro. 24th, possible date, this is an allegation now, allegedly, possible date of the Crowley family kidnapping or being held against their will. Could have begun late on December 24th. Final cell phone activity for phone number 612-999-4890 at 8:23 p.m. Christmas morning just after midnight, 12:40 a.m. The following post is on the Gray State Facebook page. And it's not an easy feat when trying to maintain the story's integrity without selling out and having a small team, unquote. Was this David Crowley who wrote this post? Not confirmed. December 25th, the New Yorker article alleges David killed Rani, Komel, and then later on himself on this day. On the Gray State documentary, David's father, Dan Crowley Sr., recites the final post from David's journal on December 25th that he talks about having big plans before killing himself. We know at the end of November was the last entry in the journal posts. So something doesn't add up there. Friday, December 26th. This is the date that police in Apple Valley, the investigation, estimated the deaths of the family took place, December 26th. The New Yorker article states that Dan Crowley Jr. drops off gifts at the front of the step of the home, Friday, December 26th. Sunday, December 28th. According to police reports, Dan Crowley Jr. drops off Christmas packages at the Crowley home on the front step, does not knock or ring the doorbell, and leaves. Monday morning, January 5th of the new year, 2015, Cypress Montessori in Burnsville, Minnesota, Rani's preschool, begins school following the holiday break. Rani does not show up. Wednesday, January 7th, Eric Prochnow posts on Facebook that he now has received the funding needed to move forward with his new home in California. Thursday, July 8th, Jason Allen responds back to David and says, quote, "Yes, would love to be happy to explore options with the project and recommends a 3:33 phone call later on today." Friday, January 9th. This is now the possibility of the possible actual date the packages were dropped off by Dan Crowley Jr. at the Crowley home. Remember, none of the neighbors saw packages on the front stoop for those 3 weeks. Just the Prochnows saw them, and I think the first time they saw them was the 10th of January. Bodies were found on the 17th, so the packages perhaps may only have been laying there for a week. If they're only laying there for a week, they don't look weathered enough to be there for 3 weeks. They may have only been set there on the 9th of January by Dan Crowley Jr. Saturday, January 10th, next-door neighbors Judy and Colin Prochnow depart Minneapolis for a trip to Orlando. Their flight departs at 3:55 p.m. On the way out, they see packages at the Crowley's home on the front steps. That's interesting to note because the other neighbors don't make mention of any packages on the steps the last week of December or the first week in January. They first see the packages on the 10th. Sunday, January 11th. This is the possible date of David, Komel, and Rani being murdered. Remember, the bodies are found on the 17th. A doctor interviewed by Catherine Michelle says that the bodies appear to have been there only a week, or more than likely less than 1 week. If the bodies are found on the 17th, that puts the death of the bodies around the 10th or the 11th of January. which means they only were there a week. They were in the early process of, they were just completing rigor mortis and early process of decomposition. If that's the case, if they only were there a week, there's no way the bodies were killed for the entire 3-week span laying there. Wednesday, January 14th. Judy and Colin Prochnow depart Orlando for their return trip home to Minneapolis. Their flight's arrival time was 5:39 p.m. Minneapolis. Saturday, January 17th. All these postings leading up to this has all been previous to the bodies being found. Now we're ground zero, Saturday, January 17th, 2015. Colin Prochnow sees, quote, mannequins through the window at the Crowley residence. He comes home and tells his wife, Judy. She finds it odd, so they both return to the Crowley home and actually see bodies in the home, through the window. At this point, Judy Prochnow calls 911 at 12:56 p.m. and speaks to a male dispatcher from her cell phone. Curiously, she uses the phrase murder-suicide while on the phone with dispatch. This is the very first time the murder-suicide had even come up. Right off the bat, the 911 call. Judy did not call to say she saw bodies next door. She did that, but she went further to say, I think a murder-suicide took place. That's something to note. Very interesting to note that. Colin Prochnow calls 911 at 12:57 p.m. from the house phone. So now we've got two 911 phone calls to Apple Valley Dispatch, one from a cell, one from the landline, both from the same home. Strange. Police officers arrive on site and see multiple obviously deceased bodies in the front window and in the back of the home. They also note rear slider slightly ajar per the police audio. A search warrant is signed by Honorable Karen Ashpog at 3:06 p.m. Members of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, BCA, enter the home at 4:51 p.m. At 9:32 p.m., the first news tweet appears regarding the investigation of dead bodies in a home. Around 11:30 p.m. that night, medical examiner Dr. Jessica Lelinski from the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office arrives on the scene. She stays for 45 minutes and leaves. Sunday, January 18th, just after midnight, the bodies were removed from the scene, 1:30 a.m. Bodies were bagged and taken out. Also that day, Hennepin County Medical Examiner Dr. Jessica Lelinski conducts autopsies on the Crowley bodies. Same day, Danny August Mason speaks with Christopher Peck on the phone. The Facebook page Gray State, The Rise, published a strange comment at 6:45 p.m. saying the Crowley family have passed away. Musician and Crowley friend Jordan Page posted this comment on Facebook. Quote, the film was ready to start production with a $30 million budget from a major Hollywood studio. End quote. Minneapolis Star-Tribune publishes the first article about bodies being found. Monday. Now we're on Monday, January 19th. The UK Daily Mail publishes a story with the following headline. Gun enthusiast, his dietitian wife, and their 5-year-old daughter lay dead from murder-suicide in their suburban home for weeks before neighbors discovered them. They include a picture of David holding a rifle and wearing a gas mask with the article. Facebook page Justice for David Crowley and Family is created by Dan Hennen on Facebook at 8:15 a.m. Facebook page Justice for David Crowley of Gray State is created by Thomas Lapp at 8:30 a.m. Thomas Lapp receives a text at 11 a.m. from Brendan J. Brendan J. is a member of the Gray State Project. He has wants to coordinate their efforts, potentially setting up an interview to reach a large audience. Detectives Bone and McKnight meet with the Crowley family in Owatonna, Minnesota. They speak with Dan Sr., Dan Jr., and Allison. At 12:45 p.m., same day, January 19th, Captain John Bermel sends a press release to 9 email addresses in the local media regarding this Crowley case. It's entitled Press Suspicious Deaths. At 12:51 p.m., a 911 call comes into police by a neighbor of the Crowley home for suspicious activity at the home. They see a GMC truck with army paint on it. Presumably, this is Chris Klein's. Detective Booth contacts Christopher Peck this afternoon. Detective Booth then contacts Danny August Mason. They talk. Danny Mason goes out of his way to tell the officer that he had no role in the film other than being an actor and a friend. He was not connected from a business standpoint. The statement is not true. Chris Klein, Dan Crowley Sr., Dan Crowley Jr., Mason Hendricks, and Adam Shambor see a hole in the ceiling near the home's entryway later that night. This is January 19th. Remember, police are not yet, cleaners are not yet done professionally cleaning the home. There was a biohazard at this point. But yet up to 5 people were in that home and they noticed a gunshot hole in the ceiling by the entryway. Tuesday, January 20th. At 1 p.m., professional cleaners find a bullet fragment under the rug and after advisement of Dan Crowley Sr. notify the Apple Valley Police Department Detective McKnight. 2:31 p.m., Apple Valley Police Department take photos of the bullet fragment found on the floor. At 2:57 p.m., Joe Hagman reaches out to Thomas Lapp on his Justice page via a private message to offer his condolences about the deaths. The Hagman and Hagman internet radio show had interviewed David several times in the past regarding updates on the Gray State Project. Around 3 p.m. on the 20th of January, Mike Pachesny publishes on YouTube the rough cut of the Gray State documentary titled The Rise. Remember, this still contains Sean Wright's tax stuff, and this full-length version is 2 hours and 39 minutes of The Rise. At 3:16 p.m., the group Anonymous makes a post on their Facebook page and provides a link to Mr. Lapp's Facebook page and creates a new hashtag to start using for the case called #JusticeForCrowleys. At 3:20 p.m., Thomas Lapp gets in contact with the Gray State team. Mr. Lapp then contacts Mr. Hennen to ask if he could make time for a conference call. At 3:50 p.m., Mr. Lapp contacts Mr. Hennen to ask, does 10 p.m. Eastern Time work for a go-to meeting tonight online? Also mentions that he spoke with Sean Wright from the Gray State team. Mr. Wright expresses concerns to Mr. Lapp that Mr. Hennen's Facebook group has an invite out there that includes Dr. James Fetzer to the group. Mr. Wright wants Mr. Fetzer banned from the page. Mr. Hennen explains to Mr. Lapp that he invited Mr. Fetzer only because he's local, but he has not yet accepted the invite because he's currently focusing his research on the Sandy Hook case. At 4:20 p.m., Mr. Lapp communicates to Mr. Hennen that Joe Hagman is also interested in joining the conference call, but requested to move it out by 1 hour. If the call does get moved out 1 hour, then this call can be featured on that episode that night of Hagman and Hagman Show. Around 4:30 p.m., Sean Wright requests admin rights on Thomas Lapp's Justice page. This is granted by Mr. Lapp. At 5 p.m., members of the Gray State team are made aware of the rough cut video on YouTube that Mr. Pachesny published without approval of the team. 5:39 p.m. Mr. Lapp informs Mr. Hennen the Gray State team is in contact with YouTube now to pull down the rough cut video, and they believe Mr. Pachesny went rogue for some reason and released it. Mr. Lapp also confirms the time for the live airing of the Hagman and Hagman report will indeed be 11 o'clock tonight at Eastern Time. 5:55 p.m. Danny August Mason requests admin rights on Mr. Lapp's Justice page. Around 7 p.m., members of the page notice large chunks of information have been deleted from Mr. Lapp's Justice page. Mr. Lapp confirmed that it was not him. 7:23 p.m. Brendan J's sister, Carissa, uses the new Twitter hashtag Justice for Crowleys for all of us to use. She intends to get this whole story trending. 8:49 p.m. Mr. Lapp contacts Mr. Hennen to say the conference call for that night has now been canceled. He mentions that things have gotten weird in the past couple of hours. Mr. Lapp states that Mr. Sean Wright is now demanding full admin rights to Lapp's Justice page and will, quote, terminate the page if he isn't granted those rights. Mr. Lapp also mentions to Mr. Hennen that Sean Wright is wanting to get admin rights to Mr. Hennen's page as well. Mr. Lapp says Sean Wright repeatedly used the phrase, "just give me full access ASAP." Wednesday, January 21st, Mason Hendricks makes a post on Facebook saying, "We're going to the home on this Thursday, January 22nd, after the living room is cleaned, to help make sense of what the note says." Keep in mind they're already in the home. Later that afternoon, Mason Hendricks publishes the now infamous smiling guy's photo on his Instagram account. The photo shows Sean Wright, Dan Crowley Jr., Danny August Mason, and Mason Hendricks. All four are smiling. Posted on Mr. Hendricks' account named Mason Norsk Hesk with the hashtag brothers, and purportedly taken after the TV interviews that morning. Sean Wright posts the same image on his personal Facebook account. A friend of his, named Paulus, leaves a comment to Sean about an upcoming get-together and informs Sean that no women are allowed per Sharia law, unquote. YouTube user Truth Media Revolution captured the screenshots of the posts that were deleted. He went on to make 2 videos that showed evidence of the posts that were deleted. Doug Hagman's article called "Filmmaker David Crowley Dead in Murder-Suicide" confided, "I'm not, quote, prone to suicide." The article is published in the Canada Free Press. Sean Wright begins a campaign to gain administrative rights to Dan Hennen's Facebook group. He is rejected. At 12:10 p.m., a Facebook user named Sam Wagner requests admin rights to Mr. Hennen's Justice page. He is rejected. Dan Crowley Jr. creates a GoFundMe page to raise medical funds for Naila Alam's treatment. The goal listed is $6 million. At 4:45 p.m., Dan Crowley Jr. retrieves the Crowley dog from the Palomino Pet Hospital. In a nearby parking lot, he transfers the dog to the original owner to take Paleo home. And last of all, that same day, January 21st, filmmaker Eric Nelson has interest in the case. He contacts the families to see if there is interest in doing a documentary. Remember, that's 4 days after the bodies were found. Thursday, January 22nd, YouTuber Brendan Hunt publishes a hit piece video on Mr. Hennen's Justice page and publishes it to YouTube. Same day, David Kirk West publishes publishes a lengthy article on why he believes the official version of the story. And that afternoon, tweets from Anonymous claim that the Crowley family was murdered. Friday, January 23, Hennepin County Medical Examiner rules the deaths of Komel and Rani as a homicide and David's as a suicide. Still on the 23rd of January, investigative journalist Ben Swan interviews Danny August Mason. This interview airs on January 26th. Still, January 23rd, Komel Crowley's funeral service takes place in Harker Heights, Texas. Sean Wright messages Mr. Hennen with a request to meet tomorrow to discuss the case. Sean Wright contacts Greg Fernandez Jr. about the case. They both were acquainted with each other from the group We Are Change in California. 6:48 p.m., Sean Wright messages Mr. Hennen, "I hope you have the courage to show up for the services." At 7:09 p.m., Mr. Wright and Mr. Hennen begin a 35-minute phone call discussing the case. Dan reiterates that he is not interested in granting Wright admin rights to his page ever. At 10:12 p.m., Sean Wright messages Mr. Hennen, "Do not show up for the services, you disrespectful piece of shit." Later, Sean Wright messages Mr. Hennen, "I feel sorry for the backlash that you're going to receive, but don't worry, you'll get yours." Facebook user Kimberly Lamke gets contacted by Sean Wright via instant message, and he proceeds to bully her about the case. She was active in the group on these days as well. Saturday, January 24th at 12:09 a.m., Sean Wright messages Greg Fernandez Jr. in California and tells Mr. Fernandez to stop asking questions. The same day, "There's a lot of activity in the Crowley home," says the neighbor, Teresa Shepard. This source is from the police report. Sunday, January 25th. One Facebook user by the name of Scott Wilson makes many posts on Mr. Hennen's Justice page, all with the intent to distract. Then, the Inquisitor News publishes an article called "Conspiracy Theorists Hacker Group Anonymous Reportedly Blame Government for David Crowley's Death, Insist He Was Assassinated," written by Megan Ellis. One member of Mr. Hennen's Justice page researches Scott Wilson after locating his address. After a background check on Mr. Wilson shows multiple criminal charges, but strangely enough, all have dispositions like "no prosecute," meaning "do not prosecute." There are also many amended charges, dismissals, and without judgment supervision, which is basically telling the court to hold off on a case. These are very strong indications that Scott Wilson may be a CI, a confidential informant. Monday, January 26th, 6:33 a.m., Dan Feit, author of the HongPong.com blog, publishes a hit piece on Mr. Hennen's Justice page. Now, Mr. Feit's career also doesn't add up, but he does seem to be connected. Mr. Feit's grandfather was a counterintelligence officer in World War II. This leaves many wondering what Dan Feit actually does for a living, as he currently recently accepted a position in Boston, Massachusetts. 8:54 a.m., January 26th, Mr. Hennen bans user Scott Wilson from his Justice page. This marks the very first member banned on the group. At 9 a.m., Sean Wright and various others begin spamming the link to the HongPong.com article to dozens of members of Mr. Hennen's Justice page in the form of direct instant messages. Mr. Hennen then receives information from his immediate family members asking him, "Who is Sean Wright and why are they sending me direct messages?" 9:47 a.m. Mr. Wright messages Mr. Hennen, "Are you sure you do not want to reconsider your actions?" This marks the last time Hennen corresponds with Wright. Later that day, the Ben Swan interview with Danny August Mason airs. It's a YouTube video, 27 minutes in length. Tuesday, January 27th at 1:17 p.m., Mr. Lapp messages Mr. Hagman with his conclusion regarding the quick shift in the decision for the Gray State team not to want to work with Mr. Lapp. Well-known shill Brendan Hunt works the controlled opposition angle. Mr. Hunt messaged Mr. Wright on January 20th and told him several lies and took other things out of context to trick Mr. Wright into thinking Mr. Lapp was some sort of fraud. This evidently was enough to convince Sean Wright, which is why he changed his attitude so quick. January 27th also, a thread on internet forum GLP mentions a comment that David Crowley posted in the fall of 2014 that was now removed from David's Facebook page. So other people now were noticing comments and threads being removed. The 27th of January this is the visitation is held for David Crowley from 3 to 8 p.m. in Owatonna, Minnesota. Wednesday, January 28th, 11 a.m., memorial service is held for David Crowley in Owatonna, Minnesota. Atmosphere was strange, admits a first cousin of David Crowley. His friends acted like it was a party and a lot of laughing. This person went on to state that Dan Crowley Jr.'s behavior was off. He was very high-strung, couldn't stay in one spot, very nervous. He was sure to tell close family members not to talk to the cops, media, or friends, because he said something big's going down. Later that same day, Brendan Hunt publishes a 9-minute YouTube video as another hit piece towards Hennen's Justice page, the second such one. He credits much of his information from the hongpong.com blog. Thursday, January 29th, Naila Alam acquires medical insurance for her cancer. This is confirmed on an email on February 11th that she does have insurance for her cancer. Monday, February 2nd, 10:49 a.m., Facebook user named Eric Sayward sends the following instant message to Mr. Hennen. Quote, "You say one more thing about Crowley, and I will pay you a visit." Unquote. Tuesday, February 3rd, various Facebook posts from David Crowley's personal Facebook page are hidden or deleted from his wall. Thursday, February 5th, 1:46 p.m., Dan Hennen receives an instant message from user Kevin P. Reaper in location Sapulpa, Oklahoma that states, "Keep your head on a swivel." Monday, February 9th. Komel Crowley's sister Sidra Alam reaches out to Dan Hennen on Facebook and is interested in clearing the air on some of the information regarding her family. Later that day, Dan Crowley Jr. posts a photo of himself in front of a Las Vegas casino on his Facebook wall. Tuesday, February 10th, Wake Up to the Truth internet radio show hosted by Mike Soror interviews Dan Hennen and Greg Fernandez about the case. Thursday, February 12th, an unknown person files a claim with the Crime Victims Reparations Board on behalf of Rania Crowley. It gets assigned claim number 40006. Friday, February 13th, Special Agent Olson with the Minnesota BCA receives a CD with 20 PDF files relating to the investigation from the Apple Valley Police Department. Saturday, February 14th, a Facebook user under the name Judy Prochnow appears on Hennen's Justice page, claiming to be the neighbor that found the bodies. This user goes on to make over 100 posts in a span of 7 hours. Sunday, February 15th, Facebook user Judy Prochnow is back for several more hours, making lengthy posts on Hennen's Justice page that most people question if it really could be it. Comments coming from a 63-year-old grandmother typing that fast. Judy Prochnow reports a post by Dan Hennen to the Apple Valley Police. He said he might stop over for a cup of coffee as he'll be in the area running some errands this afternoon. Judy responds, "You're welcome to stop by." This is the post reported to police. Later that day, Joshua Lee Ratvold dies unexpectedly. He is the nephew of Judy and Colin Prochnow. A GoFundMe campaign is set up to raise funds for this unexpected financial stress. Later on that day, the GoFundMe campaign is closed down by Dan Crowley Jr. This is the GoFundMe for Nyla to raise $6 million. This one is closed down. It raises just over $8,000 with the funds going directly to Dan Crowley Jr. Monday, February 16th. It is suggested now that this Judy Prochnow could actually be Dan Fight, posting on the Justice pages, as his Twitter feed and Facebook accounts were awfully quiet over the last 2 days, which is not normal. He's usually very active on Twitter and Facebook. Judy Prochnow makes a claim that she is excited that Sidra Alam wants to come and meet her when she comes into town in a couple weeks. Sidra now is confronted with this information by Mr. Hennen, and Sidra responds back with, "Oh, I don't know who she is." The account Judy Prochnow is promptly banned from Hennen's Justice page. Tuesday, February 17th, Chris Klein calls the Apple Valley PD at 5 p.m. for the first time. He may have tried reaching them one or more times before this point, but it said that the police reports state that this was his first contact actually getting through and speaking with someone, was February 17th. This is a full month after the bodies were discovered. Klein speaks with Detective Bone. He says that he was indeed in the Crowley house on January 19th and discusses the hole in the ceiling, which is now in turn news to the Apple Valley Police Department. They've never heard of this bullet hole. So it's a month later. Chris Klein admits that he was in the house before the professional cleaning was done, along with some other people. Mentions they were looking in the attic for this missing bullet from above the doorway. Detective Bone responds back with, "We didn't know anything about a bullet in the ceiling." Later that day, Mr. Lapp's Facebook page receives a direct message saying that this page is being watched and confirmed that the killing was indeed an inside job. Wednesday, February 18th, Apple Valley Police Department received word from the Minnesota BCA that the reports have been completed. Also, later, Apple Valley Police Department called Dan Crowley Sr. to ask permission to enter the Crowley home to look at this newfound bullet hole in the ceiling. They get permission and enter the home by using the door key lock at 3 p.m. Detective Bone and Detective McKnight are there. They see this hole and want to see the portion of the attic to look for evidence. They find the attic access and the master bedroom was open as if someone had already been up there. At 4:25 p.m. they get a warrant signed to search the home. Remember, this is a month later now. The search took place from 5 p.m. until 7:35 p.m. after BCA Special Agent Chris Olson arrived. And then that evening, Sidra Alam informs Dan Hennen that she would like to take a break from this for a while. Thursday, February 19th. Apple Valley Police Department goes back and reviews photos taken from the crime scene on the original date, January 17th. And they notice that there was a hole in the ceiling above the front entryway door. Now, we're unable to confirm this, as it's still speculation that there was a hole even there at the time. We haven't yet to see any photos that show the bullet hole there in the home on January 17th. Tuesday, February 24th, BCA Special Agent Katvovitz completes the crime scene diagram of the Crowley home. This is the kind of the blueprint-looking crime scene analysis. Tuesday, March 3rd, Greg Fernandez Jr. and Dan Hennen appear as guests on the internet radio show Wake Up to the Truth with hosts Mike Soror and Eric Wilkinson. The Crowley Case is featured. Wednesday, March 4th, Dan Hennen receives a personal text message from an unknown person calling him a psychopathic jerk. Friday, March 6th, to date, the Justice page has 26 Facebook profiles on Dan Hennen's group that have been banned. Also, March 6th, Sidra Alam's Facebook account is hacked and inactivated for a period of 5 days. In working with police tell her they believe the culprit is a resident of Bloomington, Minnesota. Thursday, March 12th, BCA reports an overview of the processing of the crime scene are added to the Apple Valley Police case. Friday, March 13th, Sidra Alam flies from Dallas to Minneapolis with her then fiancé Vinny. Saturday, March 14th, Apple Valley Police detectives meet with the family, Dan Sr., Dan Jr., Allison, Kate Crowley, and Sidra Alam, to go over. Now, this is the very first time police sit down face to face and tell them that Allah Akbar was written on the wall in blood, that a Quran was open to the forgiveness prayer page, and that a notepad said, "Submit to Allah now." This entire time, this is now what, 2 months, about coming up on 2 months old, is the first time that family members, immediate family members, even hear of anything regarding this, the Muslim angle on this entire crime. Monday, March 16, DNA results arrive. David's DNA was on the gun and the magazine, and it was Komel's blood that was on the wall. Sunday, March 22, Anjum Alam and a friend drive up to Minnesota with the trailer and pick up both Toyota Corollas from the Crowley driveway and return them to Texas. Both cars' titles were in Komel's name. Saturday, April 4th, 2015, Mason Hendricks reaches out to Dan Hennen via private message to answer some questions. Friday, April 17, BCA reports that their fingerprint results are still not known. Monday, April 20th, the April issue of Disaster Survivor Network has a cover story featuring the Crowley case. Tuesday, May 5th, 2015, Danny August Mason files a new business called Gray State Universe LLC with the state of Minnesota Secretary of State. Wednesday, May 6th, Danny August Mason applies for a trademark for Gray State under the business name Gray State Universe LLC using attorney Gregory Perlberg in Minneapolis. Tuesday, May 12th, Voices for 9/11 Truth episode airs on the internet. Dan Hennen and Mike Soror discuss the Crowley case. Saturday, May 30th, 2015. This was Sidra and Vinny's original wedding date. Komel Crowley was to be Sidra's matron of honor. This wedding date now gets postponed in the aftermath of the crimes. Thursday, June 18th, 2015. A Crowley Case discussion takes place on YouTube. Monday, August 3. AT&T runs cell phone reports for the Crowley family as part of their investigation. Wednesday, August 5th. The latent print division of the BCA reports that the palm print on the gun and fingerprint on the magazine is not conclusive as to David Crowley. In fact, there are no matches. Exams were completed with one exception, the indented writing analysis, and BCA asked if Apple Valley Police Department wanted it completed. Detective Bone said to lead agent Cooksley, no, quote, not at this time. Thursday, August 6th. Rani's birthday. She would have turned 6. Would have been her golden birthday. Also on this day, allegedly, now this is allegedly, David's mother, Kate, decides to go to the medical examiner's office to see in person the medical examiner's report on David, Komel, and Rani, possibly even to speak with Dr. Jessica Lelinski about the case. This is not confirmed. Friday, August 7th, Dan Hennen calls Anju Malam to discuss his thoughts on the case, but no one answers. Dr. Jessica Lelinski's last day of employment with the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office. It still isn't known why she left. At 4:45 p.m., Anju Malam calls Dan Hennen and they speak for 35 minutes on the phone about the case. Mr. Hennen offers to help raise funds if Mr. Alam wants to hire a lawyer. Saturday, August 8th, 2015. Family, friends, and the boyfriend of Kate Crowley cannot reach her. Sunday, August 9th. David Crowley's mother, Kate Crowley, found dead in her outside of her Owatonna, Minnesota home. No reason is provided. She was 51. Thursday, August 13th. Another Crowley Case discussion broadcasted on YouTube. Monday, August 17th, 2015. Dr. Jessica Lelinski begins her new job for the Milwaukee County as an assistant medical examiner. Tuesday, October 13th, 2015. Apple Valley Police Department removes a review on their Facebook page written by Dan Hennen. The review was a 1 star out of 5 possibility and was fairly written. No reason was given as to why it was removed from the Facebook. Thursday, November 12th, 2015. Email correspondence between Fox 9 investigator Tom Lydon and Apple Valley Police Department Captain John Bermel. Wednesday, December 30th. Email correspondence between Fox 9 investigator Tom Lydon and Captain John Bermel. Monday, January 4th, 10:30 a.m. Fox 9 investigator Tom Lydon meets with Captain John Bermel to review the data in his case. Wednesday, January 6th, at 11:09 a.m., Officer Brian Bone emails an unknown photo to Fox 9's Tom Lydon that Mr. Lydon requested. Later that day, Fox 9 investigator Tom Lydon interviews Mason Hendricks and Chris Peck. Sunday, January 10th, the Fox 9 Investigators segment airs on television. It features the Allah Akbar written in blood on the wall, the Quran opened on the floor, and the message, "Submit to Allah now," quote. This is the first time the general public is made aware of these facts. It's 51 weeks after the bodies were found that this became known. Tuesday, January 12th, another Crowley Case discussion takes place on YouTube. Sunday, January 17th, People.com publishes a lead story about the Crowley case. Monday, January 18th, Crowley case discussion takes place on YouTube. Thursday, February 18th, Spitfire and the Sentinels show features Dan Hennen and Greg Fernandez Jr. Part 1. Friday, February 19th, 2016, a cousin of the Crowley family comes forward with allegations of sexual abuse of multiple young boys perpetrated by Dan Crowley Jr. while in high school at a church camp. Later that night, Spitfire and the Sentinel show features Dan Hennen and Greg Fernandez Jr. interview, Part 2. Saturday, February 20th, 2016, Detective Brian Bone is named Apple Valley Police Department's Officer of the Year for the year 2015. Detectives Tara Becker and John Broughton received Department Award of Merit for 2015 for their work on the Crowley case. And the entire Apple Valley detective team is recognized with the Department Award of Merit for 2015 for their work on the Crowley case. Tuesday, March 8th, 2016, Mason Hendricks posts on social media that he is in Costa Rica. Monday, March 14th, 2016, a screenshot surfaces that shows someone was active on David Crowley's personal Facebook Messenger account. This image screenshot was saved. Wednesday, March 16th, Greg Fernandez Jr. sends a list of 21 questions regarding the case to lead investigator James Gummert from the Apple Valley Police Department. Friday, March 18th, Judy Prochnow gets banned from the Justice for David Crowley and Gray State Facebook page. Wednesday, March 23rd, Minneapolis-St. Paul publication called City Pages features a cover story about the Crowley case written by Corey Zarowski. Tuesday, April 5th, 2016, Alec Wilkinson and Mason Hendricks go through the Crowley home. Mr. Wilkinson is a journalist for the New Yorker magazine. He plans on writing an article about the case. April 9th, Crowley case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. April 16th, Crowley case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. April 30, Crowley case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. May 4th, Crowley case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. Tuesday, May 10th, Officer James Gumbert sends a response to Greg Fernandez Jr. and answers his 21 questions. Monday, May 16th, 2016. Dan Hennen meets Detective James Gummert at the Apple Valley Police Department, and they discuss the case. Mr. Gummert explains that Fox 9 investigators received all the photos as a result of an administrative error. Basically saying that they received everything in error. They should have received a normal CD with the pictures and the reports, but for some reason, due to a glitch, they got everything. Unfiltered, uncensored. And that's how it all came about on the Tom Lydon investigation for Fox 9 News. May 16th, Crowley case discussion on YouTube. Friday, May 27th, Apple Valley Police Department records technician Bev Grove retires after 27 years of service. She was the desk receptionist when Dan Hennen picked up his CDs from various FOIA requests. Tuesday, May 31st, Apple Valley Police Department officer Detective John Broughton retires after 27 years of service. He was the primary officer in the Crowley case and was the officer that first noticed that the rear slider was unlocked and slightly ajar. He retires. Friday, June 3, 2016. Documentary filmmaker Eric Nelson arrives in the Twin Cities to interview subjects. He is known for his movie The Grizzly Man. Saturday, June 4th. Film crew arrives in Chaska, Minnesota to interview Dan Hennen. Allegedly, Chris Peck was the audio tech on site. Crowley Case discussion via YouTube was done that day. A portion of it was shown in the Gray State documentary. Documentary film crew then interviews Judy and Colin Prochnow in Apple Valley, Minnesota. And documentary film crews interview Greg Fernandez Jr. in California. Thursday, June 9, Gary Swanson retires from the Minnesota BCA. He worked the Crowley case as a senior special agent. Saturday, June 11th, documentary film crews interview Anjum Alam and his daughter Sidra in a hotel in Texas. Monday, June 20th, Dan Hennen receives a FOIA request response from the Apple Valley Police Department saying, "Per our city attorney, we have released all that has been approved to be released for this case," unquote. June 28, Crowley Case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. Saturday, August 6th, 2016, Rani's birthday. She would have turned 7. First week of August, Sidra gives birth to her new daughter. She would have been Rani's first cousin. Her original due date was Rani's birthday, for Sidra's baby. I think she was born a couple days afterwards. Thursday, August 18th, 2016, Dan Crowley Jr. makes a post on the Justice for David Crowley and Gray State Facebook page that says, "Keep up the good work, sleuths," unquote. Saturday, September 17th, 2016, Allison Crowley gets married to Suzanne Gold. It's David's brother, Allison. Monday, December 5th, 2016, the Crowley case is discussed on the Ocelli Report internet show hosted by Chuck Ocelli and Barry Prince. Dan Hennen is interviewed. December 16th, Crowley case discussion, published on YouTube. January 7th, 2017, Crowley case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. January 17th, Crowley case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. Tuesday, January 31st, 2017, Sidra Alam announces on Facebook that she's selling the 2010 Acura TL. Friday, February 3rd, Dan Hennen files a FOIA request with the Minnesota State BCA. Friday, February 10th, Dan Hennen files FOIA request with the Apple Valley Police Department. This time he requests information on 2 phone calls made to police on October 19th of 2014, the day of Sidra and Vinny's visit to Crowley's, and on 1/19/15. The folks were in the house on the 19th of January of 2015. Saturday, February 18th of the year 2017, Anjum Alam is sent a link of the rough cut of the documentary by Eric Nelson so he could view it. He watches it with his daughter Sidra. Mr. Alam does not like the direction that Eric Nelson is taking the documentary. He wants all his footage removed along with his daughter Sidra's interview footage before the film is released. February 22nd, Crowley case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. Thursday, February 23rd, the Crowley home property is purchased by a company called Neighborhood Rehabilitation. Their intent is to remodel it and sell it. Previously was owned, after it went into foreclosure, it was owned by the Secretary of Veteran Affairs, their Texas office. Monday, February 17th, 2017. Dan Hennen hears back from the Minnesota BCA regarding his FOIA request. that they are still working on it. Thursday, March 2nd, Tribeca Film Festival 2017 announces The Gray State, a film by Eric Nelson, will be premiered during the events in April. It's classified under the Spotlight Documentary category. Later that day, another Crowley Case discussion broadcast on YouTube. March 4th, another Crowley Case discussion broadcast on YouTube. Thursday, March 9, Dan Hennen files FOIA request with the Apple Valley Police Department, requesting additional information regarding an email from Detective Bone to Fox 9's Tom Lydon. Monday, March 13th, 2017, Dan Hennen contacts Minnesota BCA to ask for the status on his FOIA request. Friday, March 17th, Dan Hennen files FOIA request with Hennepin County Medical Examiner, requesting the coroner's report on the 3 Crowley bodies. Friday, March 24th, 2017, Greg Fernandez Jr. and Judy Prochnow record a live conference call to discuss the case. This goes 3 hours long. March 25th, Crowley Case discussion broadcast on YouTube. March 27th, Dan Hennen sends a follow-up message to Hennepin County Medical Examiner, as it was now due today. March 28th, Dan Hennen sends a follow-up message to the Minnesota BCA asking about status on the FOIA request back from February 3rd. March 31st, Dan receives the FOIA data from the Minnesota BCA. April 1st, Dan receives the FOIA data from the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's office. And now we get to Monday, April 3rd, 2017. The New Yorker magazine publishes a feature article called Death of a Dystopian, written by Alec Wilkinson. April 6th, Crowley Case discussion broadcast on YouTube. April 20th, 2017, the Tribeca Film Festival in New York City, a Gray State documentary is shown. Saturday, June 24th, Nantucket Film Festival shows A Gray State. Tuesday, July 11th, 2017, the Crowley home property goes on the market after the renovation is now complete. August 3rd, Melbourne Film Festival begins in Australia. A Gray State documentary is shown. Thursday, September 21st, 2017, the Walker Arts Center in Minneapolis shows a Gray State documentary. Director Eric Nelson appears afterwards for a Q&A session. September 29th, Milwaukee Film Festival, a Gray State documentary is shown. October 9, Crowley Case discussion broadcast on YouTube. Friday, October 13th, 2017, Dan Hennen is interviewed about the Crowley Case on No Lies Radio with Kevin Barrett. October 21st, Crowley Case discussion video broadcast on YouTube. October 24th, Crowley Case discussion broadcast on YouTube. October 26th, Dan Hennen publishes his audio interview with Mike Boggio III. Mr. Boggio is the president of Michael Entertainment Group, MEG. Mr. Boggio confirms that they did have an active deal with David Crowley. Friday, October 27th, Danny August Mason accepts the challenge for a debate with Greg Fernandez Jr. regarding the case. Several hours later, Mr. Mason backs out. November 3rd, 2017, Variety.com publishes a film review on Gray State. Saturday, November 4th, Roger Ebert publishes his film review on A Gray State. November 5th, St. Louis International Film Festival shows A Gray State. November 9th, the Stockholm Film Festival shows A Gray State. This film was nominated for a Bronze Horse Award for the category called Best Documentary. November 15th, Crowley Case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. December 8th, Crowley Case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. December 9th, Crowley Case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. December 11th, Monday night, A&E Network airs the documentary A Gray State. December 18th, Sean Wright posts a long rant on the Justice for David Crowley and Gray State Facebook page. Monday, December 25th, 2017, Christmas, A Gray State documentary is released on Netflix. December 28th, Greg Fernandez Jr. broadcasts his thoughts on the documentary A Gray State while viewing the film for the very first time. December 29th, the case is discussed on an episode of Road Warrior Radio with Chris Hinckley, Dan Hennen, and Greg Fernandez Jr. January 5th, 2018, Crowley Case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. January 9th, Mason Hendricks appears on the radio interview episode called Our Norwegian Horse. Friday, January 19th, Dan Hennen posts a current photo of the Crowley dog named Paleo, provided to him from the dog's owner. It is reported that he's happy and in good spirits. He's back living with his original family. Wednesday, February 7th of 2018, Facebook group member Sadie Bradham posts the following files to the Justice page: AT&T phone bills, DNA test results, autopsy results. She receives these via a FOIA request. Friday, February 16th, the Crowley home property is purchased by new owners. February 20, Crowley Case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. February 22nd, Crowley Case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. February 28th, Crowley Case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. March 10th, Crowley Case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. Friday, March 27th, 2018, Dan Crowley Sr. mails the remains of Rani Crowley down to Texas so they can have a service with Rani and Komel together. They were sitting in possession of Dan Crowley Sr. the entire time for those 3 years. Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018. Catherine Michelle interviews Dr. Leon Kelly, a forensic pathologist employed by the El Paso County Coroner's Office. He reveals that the dead bodies were there only 1 week. Thursday, April 5th, Dan Hennen and Greg Fernandez Jr. interview a professional behaviorist named Russell and publish it on YouTube. April 15th, Crowley Case discussion, broadcast on YouTube. Friday, April 20th, a psychic medium from Texas provides details on the case. Notes are released on Facebook as a PDF file. April 21st, Dan Hennen does a YouTube video summarizing the medium named Katrina's findings and includes updates from a recent visit that she had from Rani. Rani's comment there was that she knew the killer. Sunday, April 29th, a new updated timeline of events is published. Thursday, May 10th, 2018, Justice Page member Christy Hudson suffers a serious heart attack. And Thursday, May 17th, 2018, this broadcast right now. So that gives us 40 months since the bodies were discovered that we've been covering this. And where we stand as of today, I put together a summary. as of today, as of May 16th, here's what we know. Rani, her right arm was missing. It was removed at the socket. This is not something a dog could have done. And she had a broken rib number 3 under her armpit, possibly cracked when a human foot pressed against it to pull off the arm. Now we go to Komel. Komel's nuclear DNA was found on 3 bullets. Means she was shot 3 times, not twice as originally thought, and both of her hands are missing. David, no nuclear DNA found on any of the bullets recovered at the scene, and his right hand was missing. So David's, there was touch DNA found on the attic bullet, which means that it would have been something that he would have handled while loading that magazine or that cartridge or that weapon. But there was no flesh, no blood, flesh, or tissue on that bullet fragment found in the attic. So of the bullets found and recovered at the scene, none of them were the kill shot that killed David Crowley. Paleo, the family dog, looked thin and weak. We knew this from the police report, but it probably hadn't eaten in roughly a week, not 3 weeks as originally thought. That dog would have been in very rough shape after 3 weeks of no food and no access to water once that toilet water was gone. It does appear, though, by looking at the picture of Paleo at the hospital, that it would be possible and probable that he hadn't eaten in a matter of a week. He did look thin and weak, but so if the bodies were there, something happened for 2 weeks. We don't know if they were kidnapped or held hostage, but if the dead bodies were only there for a maximum of 1 week, this means that the dog was fed and watered for those 2 weeks in between as well, and so it was malnourished for just a portion of that last week. So what we've got in summary at the very bottom, missing items missing from the scene was 1 arm, 3 hands, and a bullet. Now some could argue that the dog ate these things. Some can argue that the dog couldn't have eaten the bullet, and some could argue that the dog didn't eat the entire arm. Evidence did show that there was scavenging done on the bodies. So the dog probably ate some fleshy parts of the bodies, but very unlikely that he ate the entire arm and 3 of these hands and a bullet from a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson bullet. Please leave your comments below at the bottom, and if there's anything I missed or anything that was incorrect or needed to be added, please let me know. Thanks for listening.